I came to Allentown because the museum director knew about a former project in Roanoke, Virginia. He was the director of a museum there, and we did a project there for the Taubman Museum of Art. And it was all about bringing people to the museum. It was a new facility. It was looking for its own direction, and one thing the director knew is that the direction had to be connected to the community.
I met Charlie when I was director of the Taubman Museum of Art in Roanoke, Virginia. I was told he was this extraordinary figure living in Floyd who had done some extraordinary work in sort of a folk art tradition, but also in the tradition of collaboration and community development and empowerment. And so when I met Charlie, it was an amazing experience to see his work both at the studio and on the land in Floyd, but also in some of the other cities which he had worked in. And so we commissioned a sculpture to be the first sculpture in the 55-foot or 60-foot tall atrium at the Taubman Museum, and fit the goal of not only connecting the museum with the community, but the goal of actually activating a space that had no art in it previously.
Yeah, getting the message out to the whole community, that's really the hard part, and getting them energized and thinking that they want to be part of this. And then them figuring out that it can be a real ladder that they have, but it can also be a ladder that they make, or because the participation is symbolic.
This event today really helps us to celebrate the members of the arts community who have been a part of the city for a long, long time. The message of the ladder sculpture is that no city can rise up unless its parts are risen together. And Charlie, I just want to say, and David, thank you. Great job. It looks fantastic. I even brought my own ladder. I told Charlie, I said, "This is fantastic." Now, my wife kept saying, "Well, you want to buy a new ladder?" I said, "No, I want to take ours in the house. That way, I don't have to do work for the next couple of months."
Another challenge is the time constraints that are imposed by the project, because we can't do this over a year of collecting ladders. It's got to be done in a matter of a few weeks. And so then we get into a rush towards the end when we feel like we haven't got enough representation from all of the community, and we're kind of in a hurry to get the word out. And then when people respond, then we just have a few days to collect all the ladders and then get into the sculpture. So that's another challenge, I think. The result that people see in the sculpture that we build is actually the building part is one of the easiest parts of the whole sculpture, and they don't often understand that getting the word out and getting the community engaged was really the rest of the iceberg.
In many respects, the sculpture is referring to the growth and the development of the downtown in Allentown. It's referring to all the hopes and dreams that people have had for the city for the past 40 years. It is in some respects a metaphor for what's occurring in downtown in terms of the redevelopment of downtown.
The group added a ladder representing the city's jobless to the Rise Together Allentown art project.
These ladders don't just represent what has already happened, but what could happen, the possibilities.
That's the only way a community rises, when it rises together.
But also in terms of the Arts Park itself. This is the first outdoor sculpture, the first site-specific installation within the Arts Park. It's the first, in a sense, coalescing moment where the Arts Park is seen as the hub of activity for the museum, the symphony, the Baum School, the community music school, YEA, and so many other organizations that live in the surrounding region.
In some ways, these projects are the result of everything going wrong and still making it happen. And I learned so much about communities when I do them, and that is very true of communities too. It's not about a community doing everything right. It's a community that keeps going and keeps fixing itself, and that's how we make these sculptures happen. So a lot of times people think that they call me the ladder guy, and they think that this is all about ladders, and ladders are just our aid to help get to what it's really all about. And that's what it's all about, people. And it's all about relationships between people. And especially in cities and communities where they're close together, how does that work? And
I went on Facebook yesterday. I was curious to
Oh,
see,
yeah.
and I saw some good friends of ours had already, the Latour's family.
Oh,
I
yeah.
said, oh, I didn't even know that they knew about it. So,
yeah, so isn't that cool?
they're on there.
Like
Yes,
you can connect
yep.
with people that way.
Right on.
Donated 2 letters, right?
Yes.
Tell us
2
about your 2 letters that you donated.
Well, the first one belonged to my father, and he used for roofing. He's a longtime roofer his whole life, and so that ladder was leaning up against many a house on the New Jersey shore and survived hurricanes. And so now it's in our backyard because my father can't really get up the ladder anymore. And then the other ladder I donated was from a dollhouse that my mom made. And so that ended up in our house, and it's tiny. It's just a little thing, but so one from my dad and one from my mom.
First I found 2 sticks. We have like a lot of sticks on our porch. And then I took my pocket knife and I whittled one of them, and then I added pipe cleaners in colors I liked, and the pipe cleaners represent purple, like spirits and like death and stuff, and then green is life, and the blue is like water and like spirit energy and like intertwining light and darkness. And
One of the things that I've always tried to do is to bring the project to the schools, ask them to lend a ladder in the name of their school. And I have opportunities to talk to kids from elementary school through college. And I want to make sure that they're included in this idea, this image of, this ideal image of a community that we're trying to create. But one of the things that we'll see when we see all these ladders together, we'll see how they're all holding on to each other and they're all holding each other up. And we could say that this is the ladder from your school that's the hopes and dreams of you and your school. And they're going to be connected to everybody else's ladders that are their hopes and dreams, and we're all going to rise together. That's the whole idea of Rise Together Allentown, and that's what this ladder will be part of. I don't think there's any question that the children in any community or culture, are, what is more important than that? And this is the world that they're going to inhabit, and if we can get just a little bit of the idea that, their hopes and dreams and what they're trying to achieve are going to be possible because there's a whole community out there that wants to support them, and that the community needs them too. So if we can include their ladders in the structure, it communicates that idea, and children really respond to it. They seem to understand this idea. They're in an elementary school, for example, and they're being taught about how to get along with each other. And if we can do anything to reinforce that message, I think we're doing a good thing.
for me, I feel that all the ladders represent like different type of people in Allentown, and it's like all like a mix of people, and it's like Allentown is like a crazy place. There's a lot of things going on, and it helps create like a friendlier atmosphere in like a town, and it helps us make Allentown a great place.
I've loaned it out. The neighbor across the street, because it belonged to Dorothy before we moved in.
Oh, yeah.
He always borrowed it when she had the place, and she lived
so
here.
then he continues borrowing it from you because this is where it is, yeah. So that's actually where this project started, with my memory of a childhood doing that. Then later as an adult, I'm making art and I'm using ladders as symbols, and I get this idea to try to involve more community in doing a sculpture. And I remembered that,
But you always loan out your ladder.
Yeah, right,
We loan out our lawnmowers around here
Right.
too. We're kind of really crazy people.
And yeah, and there's something good about that trust that, the more you do that, the more you know each other and kind of, it's just good, so.
Hi, good morning. I'm Craig Larimer from Bethlehem. My wife Pamela, also from Bethlehem. amazingly enough, and we're going to tell you about our ladders.
We donated this green ladder, who belonged to my grandparents. My grandmother was short, so I'm sure it got used a lot. But the interesting thing is we find this one commingled and intertwined with the morning call ladder, and Craig's worked at the morning call as long as we've been married, so that's pretty neat.
That's pretty cool, and we were just saying how as you walk around and look at all the different ladders here, it's amazing how many people you learn that you know. And you know, it's pretty amazing as you look around here just how many people you have connections with in the Lehigh Valley. John Neulantz has a ladder over here, a little step ladder, and John Neulantz has been a friend of our family for a long time. We have a lot of his pottery in our home and given them as gifts. And he's a neighbor, ironically enough, of Dave Erdman, the editor of the Morning Call, his mother, who grew up on Tillman Street in Allentown. So yeah, a lot of connections here for sure.
Right up there, it's about a 20-footer. Wasn't touched for over 40 years until the night you guys came and picked it up 2 nights ago. Well preserved, and I know it saw a lot of hard work, but not for the past 4 or 5 decades.
The basis of the project, the inspiration, was childhood memories I had of a neighborhood where people borrowed ladders and brought them back. And to me, I saw that as an adult of a symbol of trusting each other. And so I just expanded that using something that I've grown fond of in my own artwork, using ladders as symbols, and expanded that to including a whole community. So we are borrowing ladders, and this one is borrowed, and it's marked with an R. That means we'll return it, or marked with a P because the mayor maybe promised he was going to, he's going to pick it up, actually. So, you know, we do keep careful records, but when people started saying to me on these projects, I don't want this ladder back, we started to hook up with organizations like Habitat for Humanity, and that's where the donation word comes in. They agreed to donate it to Habitat after it was in the project. So I thank you all of you that Lent ladders or not, if you see it and you get the idea, that's really the whole point. So thank you all for coming today, and thank you Allentown for bringing me here. It's great. Thanks.